Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Treglia. I'm one of the school counselors in the high school, and I'm really excited to be here tonight to present what we have to offer in the high school for the students and families. Tonight is the 8th and 9th grade information parent meeting, and it's really the first step as a 9th grade family as you start the high school to learn more about our program as we're starting the school year. We're lucky enough tonight to have a college admissions officer with us, Erica Padilla from the University of Rochester, who will be speaking at the end of the presentation, and we will be taking questions as well. So to begin our presentation, just here's our administration in the school. Mr. Fiore, our principal, is here handing out folders of information to the families arriving. We have two high school counselors, Miss Perillo. She has the first half of the alphabet, and myself, Mr. Treglia, I have the second half of the 9th grade alphabet. And that's how the caseloads are spread out in the high school. It's really alphabetical. We have additional staff. Mr. Sullivan is our school psychologist. We have a very strong administrative assistant in the counseling office, Ms. Nicoletto. You might know from middle school. She's seated, her desk is in the high school. So there's a lot of phone calls, emails that will come out of her office, her desk, that you'll be seeing as well. And here's a picture of our Val and South from last year. Jocelyn, who went to RPI, Rensselaer Polytech Institute, and she's studying computer science, and Cameron, who's at Binghamton, studying computer engineering. And where are our students? Our students are at many different universities and colleges through the country, from Notre Dame to Vanderbilt, Syracuse, Fordham, University of San Diego, and then we have some fantastic local schools, Iona, Manhattan, Westchester Community College. So we have a number of colleges that are visiting our seniors this fall at Tuckahoe that come here every day, daily, to speak to our students about their universities, their colleges, their programs, and our students are asking them questions. We're also going on college campuses with some underclassmen and upperclassmen to give them the first experience of being on a college campus, what it looks like, what's the feel. It also can motivate them as a student to see what the future can hold for them, and hopefully that can help them with their academic studies as a 10th or 11th grade student. The role of the school counselor. Here at the high school, our role is really three phases. It's academic support. We're there to work with the schedule. We're there to remind the student of meeting graduation requirements. We're there to talk about curriculum to our students and families. And what does that look like in the schedule? And then what does that look like on a transcript? The first piece of information a college is going to see when you apply 3 to 4 years down the road. All right? We're here to talk about what does the extra help schedule look like? Are we going to extra help? How do we motivate our students to reach out and get all that we can offer here in our district? We also talk about personal and social and emotional health and support. A counselor's job is to build trust over time with the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade students, and so that they feel comfortable talking to us if there's something that's going on in the building that they're uncomfortable with. Maybe in a classroom they need some help, or maybe something at home. So over time we do build that relationship with them where we meet with them individually in our office. We also do some outreach in the classroom. They see us in the hallways, in the cafeteria, in the library, and I think we do have that intimate relationship with them where they feel trusting and they can talk to us and they feel comfortable sharing with Ms. Perillo or myself. And then lastly, but not least, we are here for career and college exploration. Right? We're here to introduce our college program to them. 8th and 9th grade parents are in the room right now. We're starting early because that's when you start planning what classes you're going to take and what programs you're going to look at as an 8th or 9th grade family. So it's not too early to start, okay? And we talk about Naviance, our computer-based program where students are going to be applying to colleges in 11th and 12th grade. Also in Naviance, there's information in 10th grade about career exploration. And so we talk about a lot of opportunities for them, a lot of post-high school opportunities, whether that's a 2-year program, a 4-year program, military exploration, or the world of work. They will be introduced to all of that in our counseling program. Our guidance website is really a one-stop shop to see all the information that we're offering. I really encourage everyone in the room to be familiar with our guidance website, which you can find on our high school website toward the bottom under Quick Links. And once you click on the guidance website, all of these tabs will come up on the left-hand side. There'll be tabs for Naviance, essay and ACT preparation, College Board, our curriculum map, the honors policy, lots of important information for a family and student to be aware of. So I really encourage you to take some time and to go through our guidance website. Here are some program highlights. You know, during freshman year, we already had a new student orientation. We are starting on November 17th. I think the emails have already been sent out to our 9th grade families. We're encouraging all families and students to sign up for individualized meetings with myself or Ms. Perillo starting Monday, November 17th. And that's really the counselor one-on-one. We're going to discuss how's it going in the first quarter? What activities are you in? What are you interested in? How's it going academically? And we're going to talk about the program you're in now and then what it looks like moving forward in the spring and then also going into 10th grade. What opportunities are available to you regarding your schedule, curriculum, activities, community service. So I really encourage all of our families to register for those individualized meetings starting November 17th on Monday. If you have not received the email, please reach out to myself or Ms. Nicolettos, and we will resend it to you. Other things to do in 9th grade is we're going to be introducing the Naviance program, as I mentioned today. Club Day is a big thing for 9th grade students to get involved with. We have 31 clubs in the high school. Some of them you can see in the PowerPoint presentation right now. Maybe you've taken a step forward and you're already in a club. One of the things I would encourage all 9th graders to do is to join something. Give it a try. Clubs, arts, music, athletics. It's really important for you to feel comfortable in the high school setting, and one way you can do that and connect with others is joining an activity. Even if it's not for you, at least you tried, and you can move on to a new activity in the winter or the spring. So that's something that we're going to be talking about in our individualized meetings as well. And then tonight is the 8th and 9th grade parent night. This night it will be filmed. It will be sent to all families in 8th and 9th grade via a YouTube link so that hopefully all families can see what we talked about this evening. In 10th grade, next year, we're going to be doing some career exploration via Career Pathful. It's another website that we use. We go into the classrooms, career exploration, and we show the students in 10th grade how to research careers. We show them some short videos of the day in the life of a certain profession, where the student can see actually what it's like to work as a dentist or a lawyer or a police officer. And then we talk about what classes and programs they have to take. How much money and salary are you earned if you have this profession? And then there's some interest inventories a 10th grader can take on their strengths and abilities and their values. And from the answers they put into the questionnaire comes out where they might fit in the world of work. And I think that's really interesting for a 10th grader maybe to see for the first time what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and what does this really look like for them in the future. We also have a 10th and 11th grade parent night. It's actually next Thursday. Ms. Perillo will be running it. All 10th and 11th grade parents are welcome, and they'll be hearing about many things that we're talking about today, but maybe a little bit more geared toward college and what it looks like to be an 11th grade student in terms of testing, visiting colleges, college fair, and other fast-moving in the world of college right now, deadlines and dates that they need to know. Our 10th graders actually tour some colleges. Last year, the 10th grade went to Manhattan University. The 10th grade had an opportunity to go to the Iona University Health and Science Building, where we walked there for students who are interested in nursing or physician assistants, right? So we're getting 10th graders here on college campuses early so they can see what it's like, what their future's like, and maybe help and motivate them and encourage them to keep going forward when things are tough, because their future is bright, and we want to show that to them. Here's a slide about our 11th and 12th grade year. Junior year, we have a college planning conference similar to this. We also have individual meetings for all junior families in the spring, where we talk about the initial steps of the college process. In 11th grade, the students will be taking the PSAT in the fall, and then we'll be encouraging all students to give a try to the SAT and ACT in the spring. There are many colleges that are test optional, but we would encourage all students to try the SAT and ACT and see how it goes for them. And that's something that we'll be talking about in 11th grade. In 11th grade also is something called the College Cafe, which starts in the spring of 11th grade, which is an opportunity for all 11th grade students to meet with me or Ms. Perillo in the counseling office on, for example, Tuesday at lunch. And what do we talk about there for 11th graders? We build a resume with them. We start working on personal essays, questions and answers. We talk about what type of questions to ask at a college fair. And so we sort of practice what it's like to talk to an admissions rep. And hopefully that gives the students a little bit of confidence when they're going to these new surroundings in 11th grade and when they're getting on a college campus and talking to an admissions rep in the spring and the summer, maybe for the first time. We're part of a college fair with Pelham High School and Eastchester High School and Tuckahoe High School combined. All of our students and families are welcome there. We just had that a few weeks ago at Eastchester High School for all 11th and 12th grade families. There was about 75 to 80 colleges there. It's a great first step to talk about colleges and to get to know the representatives. And that's really where you have a chance to network and market and ask questions. I would recommend you take the rep's business card and you send them an email about something you talked about that night, and you start that conversation going. You build that connection, because then you're going to visit that college in the summer, and maybe you've already talked to the rep through email, and you're one step ahead of the competition by doing that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in 11th grade. We had a summer college workshop here at Tuckahoe for all rising 12th grade students, where we had 3 universities on campus: Mercy University, Iona University, and Manhattan University. And they had breakout sessions with our rising 12th graders. They worked on the common application. They worked on the personal essay. We had information sessions to the parents on financial aid. What is it like to be a parent of a 12th grade student, and what should they be doing right now? Okay, and so we'll be having that again this August. And also college tours for 11th grade. We visited Sacred Heart University this fall with 50 students from the 11th and 12th grade. In the past, last year, we visited Fordham University for 11th grade students and Iona University. So our students are really getting a head start, meeting reps, feeling comfortable on college campus, and hearing from an early age that this is important. Their grades matter in 9th grade. It's really 33% of the transcript that a college admissions officer is going to see in the fall of your 12th grade. So let's take advantage of that in 9th grade and put our best foot forward. In the 12th grade senior year, which sounds like a while is away, but time goes fast, okay, we have individual college conferences. Right now, we're wrapping up our 12th grade individualized meetings with our students and families. We basically have about 70% of our seniors have already applied to colleges. Many of our seniors have heard good news already and been accepted to colleges. So by the time our 9th and 8th graders become 12th graders, I would see that even rising even higher. And so that's why we're starting this college information night or family information night at an early stage. Senior year, you still can take the SAT and ACT in the fall. You'll be working on your college essay with your senior English teacher as well as your school counselor. And we have the College Cafe in the fall for seniors, where they come to our office on Tuesday at lunchtime, and we work on Common App completion, supplemental essays, practice mock interviews, and whatever encouragement they need to get their applications out timely and meet these deadlines of October 15th in some cases for early action, November 1st, November 15th in some cases for early action. So we are partnering with the families and telling them the same thing you're saying at home and trying to encourage them to get this done, because we can only do it if we work together. We also offer a financial aid night. We offer that this fall. Pace University's financial aid officer was there talking to our families about the FAFSA and the CSS profile and giving our families a head start in doing that complicated FAFSA, which opened on October 1st. Again, we were at the college fair, Pelham, Eastchester, and Tuckahoe, and we also had for our 12th grade families a college essay workshop here at our library, where we had 3 universities working with students one-on-one in breakout rooms, working with them on their personal essay, working with them on their supplemental essay for 25 minutes at a time. So our students got to sit with college admissions reps from Iona, Manhattan, and Mercy that day for one-on-one personal attention and feedback on their college essay. And I think that was a big step forward in helping them feel confident and then pressing that button and sending their application before November 1st. Our seniors, as I mentioned, have toured Sacred Heart, they've toured Westchester Community College, they've toured Fordham University, and we look to tour some new schools this spring. Right now, this slide is the New York State graduation requirement slide. All students who graduate from a New York State high school need to graduate with 22 credits. Here at Tuckahoe, you're going to graduate with more than 22 credits, but the minimum is 22 credits. We require all of our students to take 4 years of English, 4 years of social studies, 4 years of science, and 4 years of math. To graduate from New York State high school, you need 1 year of a language course. You need 1 art or music credit. You're going to take physical education every year for 2 credits when you graduate. You need to take a health course. And then we offer many electives, which will get our students to 22 or more credits to graduate. That's one of the roles of the counselor, is to keep track and working with the student and parent so that we're on track for graduation. Some Regents exam requirements. The core Regents exams are really science, biology in 8th or 9th grade, math, algebra in 8th or 9th grade, global studies is given in 10th grade, and in 11th grade it's US history and English or ELA. At Tuckahoe, our Regents exams count for 10% of the final grade. And our Regents exams are no longer shown on the transcript to give our seniors the same competitive advantage that our local school districts are doing as well. For an advanced Regents diploma, you need 1 additional science course, possibly chemistry or physics, and 1 additional math course, geometry or algebra trig. Sure. In the past, a few years ago, many districts would show the Regents grades on the transcript. Colleges are not looking at for the Regents grades in their determination for acceptance or denial, and we can ask Erica that when she comes up. Some of our local districts were not putting the Regents exams on the transcript, so that's an option for our families, and we send that out to all 12th grade families, and they respond back yes or no, do you want the Regents scores? Our tip would be, if the score is not making you shine as bright as your subject grades, then it's okay to leave them off. A credit-bearing course in 8th grade will appear on the transcript for a 12th grade student, such as biology or algebra. Is there weight given to it? No, because it's a Regents course. Our Regents courses are weighed 1.0, our honors courses are 1.05, and our AP courses are 1.1. No, because they are Regents courses. Even though they are accelerated, it's not an honors or AP course. And that'd be a great question for Erica, like, do they look at an 8th grader's grades on a transcript, or do they realize that it's a process, it's a long journey, People change, people grow over time. And colleges want to see growth, upward trajectory of grades. Doesn't have to be perfect, but they want to see hard work and challenging courses, but appropriate courses for the student, and that they're consistent and they're pushing themselves. And so I think Erica's going to touch a little bit about that when she speaks tonight.
Or just waiting so that it doesn't be ideation, waiting so that it's incentivized to take the higher level course because you don't penalize yourself and come off your principal's list because you're in the high school study.
Yes, and I think that's a good question for our rep. Does a college recognize principals list, or are they looking right at the transcript? And really colleges are looking at what classes the high school offers, curriculum-wise, and is the student taking as many rigorous courses as they feel comfortable and that they should for their aptitude. You're welcome. Right now we're looking at an add drop policy form in high school. Our add and drop policy really is open until about, I believe it was September 12th this year. So students are allowed to add and drop courses over the summer, first or second week of high school, and then the policy is closed, and then you're in that class. There are some exceptions, but generally our add and drop policy you can find on our website. It's made really to keep class size down, and when we leave for the summer, our class sizes are very manageable and very appropriate in each subject. And then when there's a lot of add drop going on, the numbers get a bit skewed. So we're trying to work with that policy, and that's why the add drop form is really, this year was September 12th. These are some course options we have. Obviously, we have the Regents level classes. They meet state standards, and they prepare our students for Regents exams. Our honors classes really parallel our Regents courses, but there's a little more depth to them. And you can go on our website and look more at the honors policy and the honors criteria. I recommend that. We also offer AP courses. It's open enrollment at Tuckahoe, and it's college level curriculum. And we'll talk a little bit more of that as we move forward in the presentation. Here's a slide on the accelerated course offerings by grade level here at Tuckahoe. This year we offer 15 advanced placement classes, such as in the sciences, AP Bio, AP Chemistry, AP Physics. In history, we have AP US History, AP Government Economics. We offer social science, AP Psychology. Our 9th grade students, if they're looking to take an advanced placement class, have an opportunity with advanced placement computer science or environmental science. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. We also have honors classes. In 9th grade, English 9 honors, Global 9 honors, and Geometry honors. And then we have Regents classes. So you can start in Regents classes in 9th grade, and then challenge yourself a bit in 10th grade and take 1 or 2 honors classes, and still be able to take some advanced placement classes in 11th grade, and then 12th grade, depending on where you are as a student and where you are developmentally. We want to make sure you're in the right classes, you're challenging yourself, but you're also balancing mental health, getting involved in activities, making friends, and having an overall positive high school experience. And so sometimes, as one of our students and families mentioned, maybe in 8th grade might not be the right time for everyone developmentally to take certain courses, right? And so that's an individualized family and counselor conversation. But the rigor is here at Tuckahoe. 15 AP courses is vast. And a lot of my students take 4 in junior year and 4 in senior year, right? That could be quite stressful. But some of them are ready for that. And many of my students get into great colleges who are in Regents classes and honors program because they're challenging themselves as well. And I know Erica is going to touch base on that a little bit at the end of our presentation. Great question. Are the students in 8th grade working with their counselor to select the courses for 9th grade? At the end of 8th grade, we'll be sending out information on how to course select for the high school. It'll be coming from the high school office. We'll have a video. We'll meet with the middle school counselor and we talk about each student and family and where they project. But we'll be communicating with all families in 8th grade about the course selection offerings, the course selection sheet, and what's right for the student. And again, it's flexible here, right? What's right one day might not be right a week from now. And I think that's one of the benefits of our district is that we can talk to one another easily, we respond timely, and we know our students, we know our families. And so, yes, we do meet with all 8th grade families for course selection, and there's a lot of information that gets sent out about that. Here's a slide on a typical 9th grade schedule. On the left side is what's required. You can look in your PowerPoint in your folder. English 9, we offer Regents and Honors level. Global History, we offer Regents and Honors level. In Science, there's 3 offerings: Earth Science, Living Environment, or AP Environmental. In Math, we offer Algebra, Geometry, and Geometry Honors. All students take Physical Education. We also offer World Language in Spanish and Italian, which is usually Spanish 2 or Italian 2 in 9th grade for many of our students. And then we have lots of electives. We have arts and music, strings, band, chorus. We have a great music program here. We offer technology and business programs, Engineering 1, Fashion and Business, Entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of options for students to take these classes in 9th grade or 10th grade. Our special education offerings: if a student has an IEP, we have academic skills classes from grade 9 through 12. We have CTE services from grades 9 through 12, where there's another teacher in the room offering support services. We have some 15-to-1 classes where applicable. And so each year, our special education office is developing these plans for our students who have an IEP. Here's a sample transcript. This is a transcript. It's the first piece of information a college looks at when you apply to their school. For the 9th graders, your subjects are going to be on your transcript. Your final grades for the year are the only grades a college sees on your transcript. They don't know what you got in the first quarter, what you got in your math test last week, or what you get in the third quarter. They only know the average, the final average for the year in each subject. So take a breath if one of your exams isn't perfect, or if one of your homeworks isn't as best as you could. You have a lot of time to bring up your grades, and that's why we're meeting now in the first quarter of 9th grade. Remember, 9th grade grades count. It's a great opportunity to start a great foundation for yourself in 9th grade, to put some fantastic grades on paper in your transcript, and to really get a leg up or a head start on your college application 3 years from now by having a wonderful foundation in 9th grade. On a transcript, you're also going to see 10th grade grades, 11th grade grades, and senior year grades matter as well. We'll be sending all senior year grades out after the first semester in January to every college our students have applied. Many colleges, because we have so many students applying early action or early decision, will make a determination even before the first semester grades get sent. So that's why the 9th grade carries so much weight, because some of them will only be looking at 9th, 10th, and 11th grade transcript grades. Here's a slide on a testing program overview. In 9th grade, in the spring, a 9th grader can take Regents exams or possibly AP exams. In 10th grade, a 10th grader can take in the fall the PSAT. In the spring, AP exams or Regents exams. An 11th grade student in the fall will be taking the PSAT here. In the spring, the SAT or ACT. AP exams or Regents exams in the spring as well. And in senior year in the fall, students still are taking the SAT or ACT. And in June or in May, they'll be finishing up their AP exams or Regents exams if they need them. We offer the practice SAT here at Tuckahoe. You don't have to go anywhere. We administered it to about 110 students a week or two ago in our gym. So all students will have that opportunity here in 11th grade and or 10th grade. You know, we're talking a lot about colleges. What are colleges looking for? They're looking for your academic performance. Colleges are also looking for your standardized test scores in the SAT or ACT. Yes, there's many schools that are test optional, and that's okay. We still encourage you to try the SAT or ACT. You're going to be writing a personal essay when you're in 12th grade, right? That could be challenging. So now's the time as a ninth grade student going into 10th grade to start developing some interest, to start developing some community service opportunities, to start developing your story about how you're unique and where you started in 9th grade and where you finished in 12th grade. And so you have that opportunity to write about that in your personal essay or a supplemental essay. And so you want to start that story now and not wait till 11th or 12th grade. We have a lot of extracurricular activities here. As I mentioned, 31 clubs, a terrific music and arts program, a terrific athletics program. Everyone should be getting involved at Tuckahoe. There's something for everyone here. And colleges want to see that you're an active student, that you're not just going to sit in your dorm room. So they want to see how many activities you've done in high school and what leadership roles you've taken in these activities. And you can only start that by starting in 9th or 10th grade, getting involved in the activities and clubs and sports and arts, so that you then have an opportunity for leadership in 11th and 12th grade in these roles. You know, some tips, you want to start building your relationships with the teachers in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, because you're going to be asking them for letters of recommendation before you know it. And the more they get to know you, the more in depth they can describe you as a learner, a student, a person in that letter of recommendation. They might even be your club advisor. And that's another reason why you want to get to know them. We talked about researching and visiting colleges. We do a great job here of visiting colleges at Tuckahoe. We do a great job of getting our students on campus. So many colleges are visiting Tuckahoe daily to talk to our students in 12th grade about their colleges, their universities, how to apply to those schools. Regular decision, early decision. We have schools that are virtually visiting us. We had University of Miami virtually visit our students because they couldn't get on campus. So we're outreaching to these colleges to get our students in front of them all the time. Here's a slide on Naviance. What you're looking at is something called a scattergram. Everyone has access to this at Tuckahoe High School. You're really going to dig in 10th and 11th and 12th grade and start looking at this for data. This is an example of the University of Massachusetts scattergram. Tuckahoe has 10 years of student data for each college our students have applied to, whether they got accepted, denied, or waitlisted. And the scattergram, although it doesn't give you a student's name, it gives you the year they applied, what's their GPA, if they submitted SAT or ACT scores, and then you can see the mean of what the college is looking for, and the SAT score of what the college is looking for. So you can really make an educated decision when you start researching colleges and building your basket of colleges of dream schools, target schools, and maybe schools you feel comfortable that you're going to get accepted to. And that's part of the relationship we have with our students and families, that we start introducing this Naviance program to our students early in 10th and 11th grade, and they get familiar with it, and they get comfortable. You can access this from home as well. 9th grade is not too early to ask for your user ID and password for Naviance, so you could start looking at this and sharing it with your students at home as a way to motivate them. We also, like I said, in 10th grade, we use Pathful Explore. We go into the classrooms. We show the students how to access this virtual job performance where they can see videos of certain careers. How do you become this career? What schooling do you need? What degrees do you need? How much salary do you make? Right? And it has all sorts of data from different states. And it's a great way to get that conversation started a little bit at home as well. The videos are short, so it keeps the students' attention because the videos are only 2 or 3 minutes. They're relatively modern, so I think it's a great tool that we use in 10th grade. Here's a slide on our athletics. We have 45 teams across 24 sports. 72% of our students participate in athletics, 7th grade through 12th grade. So that's a large number of our students are stepping on the field and being part of a team and building their resume here at Tuckahoe. Combining that with arts and music and academics, community service, and showing themselves as a top applicant when they're in 12th grade and applying to schools. Here's a real important slide for our 9th graders and 8th graders. The extra help slide, right? The extra help is available to all students. Every teacher has an extra help schedule. You can access it on our website. You can ask the counselor. I'd be happy to send it to you. Extra help starts for some teachers at 2:30 on Monday. Our English teacher, our English 9 teacher has Monday 2:30 to 3 o'clock and Tuesday to 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Some teachers have a whole hour of extra help, say, for example, on Monday from 2:30 to 3:30. So there's no reason why you can't build that relationship, why you can't go to your biology teacher for a little extra help before an exam or a quiz or a lab, or your math teacher or algebra or geometry and ask for a little assistance or homework help, okay? And if you need any help finding that, please come to the guidance office. We would be happy to share the extra help form with any student or parent. Okay, onto the important stuff here. Happy to introduce Ms. Erica Padilla, Regional Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Rochester, who's agreed to be here tonight to support our message, but also give the lens of a college admissions officer, which I think is fantastic that she's here tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. When we talk about academic readiness, we also do look at academic rigor to understand how a student has challenged themselves. And every college is going to want a student who's really challenged themselves, of course. But what we talk about specifically at Rochester in our admissions committee is the appropriateness of that rigor. Making sure that students are taking rigorous coursework that makes sense for students. And not just that they're ticking off a box by taking on every single AP or honors class that they can possibly endeavor into, but that they're actually genuinely pursuing things that they're also curious about. Because when I talk about those trajectories and those peaks and valleys, as rigor increases, sometimes we see performance decline because now they're overwhelmed with schoolwork. There's a lot of other challenges, there's a lot of other stressors that are also multiplying, and so that impacts their performance in the classroom. And so that balance becomes really critical. I think for a lot of students, it's also about work-life balance. It's balancing their personal wellness in addition to balancing all of the things that they're doing in the classroom space. And as a college admissions officer, that's something that we look at really closely because we're constantly managing our student wellness, talking to students about being able to manage just their personal health, eating habits, sleeping habits. Those are things that they learn and they start practicing now so they can then endeavor and do those successfully when they get to college. And so partnering with your counselors becomes really important in navigating that appropriateness that I was talking about. And academic rigor, often we don't necessarily talk about academic curiosity. At Rochester, we do talk a lot about academic curiosity. And some of that could be explored, yes, through AP and honors classes, but also other enrichment opportunities that Tuckahoe offers. The engineering classes, the business classes, those other opportunities that are kind of unique to the school that also are opportunities for students to showcase the fact that they actually took the initiative to pursue something outside of their comfort zone. And that's often the other thing that we're looking for. Tied to this, and this is going to sound kind of obvious, study habits. I know. Study habits, practicing their study habits, making sure that they start understanding more about themselves and the spaces and actually the environments where they can best focus. It sounds really obvious, but by the time they actually get to college and they're navigating all of these different spaces, if they haven't really started flexing that muscle yet, it becomes increasingly harder by the time they're on our campuses. And by that, I even mean managing things like lighting, things like how loud is it, what spaces can they actually really use at home where they can actually focus a little bit more. Managing their passions, finding the things that they're really passionate about and excited about, is usually through vehicles like extracurricular involvement. Clubs and activities, I think, become really wonderful ways for students to learn more about themselves because it helps them also figure out what they love, but also what they really, really don't like. And I think as you're trying to figure out fit, parents, colleges talk about fit a lot, right? Have you heard the word fit before? In college admissions, colleges are always talking about, we're looking for students who are going to be a good fit. And we want you to be an academic fit, but we also want you to be a good community fit. And by community fit, it means, well, what are you going to contribute to our communities? How are you going to be engaged outside of the classroom space? How are you going to be giving of your time? And so that starts with engagement in clubs and organizations or other things that allow them opportunities to actually pursue vehicles for enrichment. So that could be any one of the clubs, that could be any additional activities that may be even offered outside of school through the community at Tuckahoe. This season I've met a lot of students who are also independently exploring passions because maybe they're passionate musicians and they've now started learning how to do some digital recording. Or I've met some students who have self-taught different instruments. The list goes on. Yesterday, I actually do interviews for admissions. I've been doing a lot of interviews lately. I know Rochester's probably one of the few schools that still does interviews for admission at this point. I met with a student who I had actually met at her high school and was following up with me to do an interview. Now that I'm talking about clubs and activities, she started out the conversation with me talking a little bit about how she was being very shy and introverted. And it kind of surprised me because we actually had a great conversation, but the start of high school for her was a realization that that introvertedness and that shyness was overwhelming by comparison to how it was in middle school. And her friends, the people that she knew from middle school, actually, they were shining. They were doing great because they maybe were more outgoing, they knew more people. In many ways, actually, the community is very similar to Tuckahoe. Smaller community, people knew each other, and so that transition for her was a huge hurdle. Getting involved in clubs, she was actually, and she used the word intentional. I wanted to be intentional about getting involved in clubs, and so she chose like 6 or 7 clubs. Everything from student council to Model UN to she joined a sport, she joined the orchestra, she did a host of different things because she wanted to find her people. She wanted to find where she really, really connected. And by second semester, she actually narrowed that down to about 3 clubs that she continues with today, actually. One of those is Model UN. And what I thought was really incredible wasn't just the fact that she was doing it with intention. She thought that being introverted required her to practice being extroverted. And she did that through Model UN. She also started learning about global politics. She was learning about different countries. And actually, now she's pursuing political science, international studies. That's her intended major, because of the experiences that she had through MUN. What I thought was really fantastic about that is that she grew in that program to not just doing things like presentations locally, but going to national conferences. The exact thing that made her so anxious, she was actually tackling head on. And I can't commend this 17-year-old more than it was just amazing to talk a little bit more about it with her. So it struck a chord with me because I think it also, she talked about really trying to find her voice and being able to really connect with people in her community. That included her teachers. So in addition, she actually started working with her schedule to find time to meet with teachers individually because she thought it was really important for them to get to know her. And so as she was working, getting to know the teachers, they got to know her, and they also allowed her to find out more about other opportunities that maybe she hadn't learned about previously. That, I think, was her helping herself find her voice, for her to become a little more definitely extroverted, but most importantly, become a self-advocate. For students, especially now that they're in high school and actually all through elementary and middle school, they have a lot of people in their orbit that are navigating, right, a lot of these networks and a lot of these connections. And so the need to actually speak to adults or the need to maybe self-advocate, for example, in an admissions process, isn't as essential immediately because you've had so many adults in your life doing that for you. And so it is a learned skill that I think for a lot of students is very, very difficult to develop. Starting that now with them, through participation in clubs, through participation in activities, taking advantage of some of the trips that the school is doing, to be able to connect with admissions officers, to be able to connect with other adults in their lives will be super important, because then that will be something that actually they'll be able to master by the time they get into the college search process. If you're visiting schools, encouraging them to take the lead, to talk to the tour guides, to meet with the admissions officer. I happen to be one of the folks that came to visit in the fall, and I'll be back again every fall to connect with students. And so for that particular student, the fact that she was so intentional and thoughtful with doing it was actually the reason actually she interviewed for admission. I, at her school, met with probably 9 or 10 students. She was the only one that reached out to me about doing an interview. I had the same conversation with all of them. She definitely stands out in my mind, obviously. I'm hopeful that she'll be a student on campus next year. So really the goal of academic fit, community fit, is also navigating the community that they have now in high school and using that as a resource to help them figure out their passions, their drivers, learn some of the soft skills that then by the time they get to college will be areas they'll be able to build upon. And it'll just make it so much easier for them. So I'm gonna stop talking because we've been talking at you for a little bit, and I'm sure that many of you have questions. So I want to invite some of the questions and see if there's anything I can help with.
Questions, anything about what we talked about? Students, parents?
You mentioned something earlier.
Do colleges care about principals lists?
It's something in Tuckahoe we have, it's called principal.
We will, whatever the student puts on the application, we'll see it. We care about it to the degree that it matters to the student. Mostly we're going to look at the transcript. And so when we're looking at the transcript, usually we're looking at the transcript in the context of the school, the rigor of the program, those types of things. So less so, oh, is the student on the dean's list or on the principal's list? Or we'll see that it's there, so it's clearly something the student is proud of. But it won't be the thing that we focus on when looking at academic progress, yeah, and rigor. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes? Yeah. Did everybody hear that? Does the sort of ranking and where the school, your school specifically stands, does that play an impact in how we review the application or the application itself by comparison to peer schools? We don't necessarily see those lists, but we do know just from our own historical data and the experiences that we've had with students from Tuckahoe on campus. And so it becomes a little bit less about the lists that are being necessarily released, but more so about seeing that continuity. We've seen how they've excelled also on campus. The school, your school will do a really good job of helping us understand any changes, any updates to curriculum. Much of the information that was presented will also be sent to us as part of the application for admission for someone who maybe isn't necessarily as familiar with the school, who's maybe a newer reader. I've, for example, been reading for the school for a while. Westchester happens to be one of the regions that I travel, so I'm very familiar with the community. And so that definitely does play a role to a degree. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first up, how do we look at rigor across schools? And specifically, we look at the school within the context of the school. So we don't generally compare academic programs from this school to the school who may be down the street or in the next county, because we want to evaluate a student's application fairly within the context of what's available to them. And so comparing one school to another doesn't necessarily do that. But when it comes to understanding the rigor of the school or the rigor of the academic program, it's not necessarily counting the number of APs or honors that they've taken. We're usually looking at the transcript to see what the overall trajectory has been for the student. And if they've taken some additional AP or honors courses, where did those stand? What areas did they expose themselves to? Generally speaking, and I've already said this at the beginning, we know the caliber of student that's coming out of the school. And so even a student who's pursuing a Regents program will generally have a really solid foundation just coming from the school. Other areas that maybe they've pursued in AP or honors, we'll sometimes look at more closely, particularly if they align to maybe areas that they're interested in exploring for college. So for example, if you're leaning in areas of STEM, looking at some of those honors or AP that maybe they pursued specific to, because maybe they want to go into nursing or engineering or some of those careers or those fields. We're not necessarily counting minimum threshold, okay, the student has done 2 or 3 APs every single year going into junior and senior year. So to the degree that that helps, I hate to keep it kind of vague, but every student is very unique. And so we don't necessarily do an evaluation across the board of every single student because every individual experience is different. And every school reviews applications differently, so I'm really speaking at it from the perspective of a school that does holistic admissions, which many schools do holistic admissions, but holistic admissions is taking into consideration who a student is, the environment that they're coming from, the choices that they made within the curriculum. In the case of Rochester, how have they explored, for example, some of those curiosities, and how would those things align with the community and the academic environment that we have on campus? And so understanding some of those things becomes really critical. And by context, I also mean, for example, there might be a reason why a student was not able to take that AP or honors class. And so to hold a student accountable for not being able to take it can sometimes be challenging because maybe there was a conflict on the schedule, or maybe they were not in the right sequence to be able to access that class. Or if a student chose to do one thing that they were really curious about, engineering, business, another elective, and because they were so passionate about that, music and the arts is a great example of this, where a student maybe pursued music because that was their passion, and that meant potentially having to make some concessions with some of the other coursework that they were taking. That doesn't make that student any less prepared. It just makes them committed and passionate about something. So for the degree that that might help, yeah. Thank you for the question. Other questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. This is the part of the conversation where I have to go with it depends. I'm sorry. Usually when I do presentations about college admissions, I do talk very broadly, but something that, does anybody have children currently in college or going through the process before? Colleges are islands on their own. Have you noticed that? Like every school does things a little differently, which is part of the reason for your frustration. There's no uniformity. That won't change. It does, unfortunately, the burden falls on the shoulders of the student to do research to find out what the acceptances are for any of the AP coursework. Generally speaking, 4s and 5s will be accepted. Sometimes a 3, depending on the individual institution. So that's definitely the case, for example, for Rochester with certain APs. How those courses are applied or how they're used within the curriculum at the school is going to vary significantly by school. Some schools will lean more towards having those courses be elective courses that can be used towards like credit towards their degree. But for example, you took AP Calculus, but we still encourage you to take calculus on campus. because the pace at which we teach calculus is a lot faster than how it's taught in high school. What you learn in a year, we teach in 2.5 months. And so, depending on the individual school, they might approach how those courses are applied and how they're used, sometimes contingent on what major they're pursuing. So it does become part of that college search process as they're putting their lists together to navigate what schools are going to be most supportive of their AP coursework to give them credit for the courses and maybe apply them in a manner that would allow them to really pursue the things that they're most interested in. And so that's something that you can start as early as now. Those AP policies don't generally change too much by school, but they will be different by school. Is that helpful? Say that again? The use of the credits will come in, but the use of the credit, like how it's applied, might vary by school. And so the question is, if a student is coming in undecided, will it matter? Will the credits be accepted? The credits will still be accepted. Eventually, the student will have to choose a major, and so how those credits are used towards their major will vary depending on the school. So we will accept the credits. So for example, if they're taking 3 AP, let's say they had, I don't know, 4s and 5s on 3 APs, that would translate potentially at Rochester to about 12 credits. So they would be coming in with 12 credits. But the application of those credits might vary depending on what their major is or what they eventually decide to pursue. And most schools will accept them, but again, it's going to vary by not so much the acceptance of the credit, but how it's actually used on campus. Does that help? Did I confuse you more? I'm sorry. Does that help? It is really school specific, and I'm sorry, I can't, yeah, and it's really frustrating. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions? Yes?
There were a bunch of different types of classes that you showed up there with honors, AP, and regents. When we were looking at transcript, do you weigh one more together? Does it matter if it's AP, not the present transcript, does AP look better than honors look better than regents?
The question is, does an AP class or an honors class or a regents class look better to a college admissions officer on a transcript? And there's a lot of variables to that. And it's going to depend.
It depends. Don't hit me. It depends. So generally, and every school will do this a little differently because it also depends on the volume of applications that a school gets and how they review their application pool. For schools that do holistic review, often we look at a student's GPA and then we separate from that the rigor of the program. Because 3 students might have a 90, but they accomplished it in very different ways. And so, yes, we will look at if a student took an honors versus an AP and how they're faring in that class. But earlier when I talked about appropriateness of rigor, more is not necessarily better, especially if doing more means that a student's academic performance declines. Because that does a lot for not just their overall GPA, but then their sense of self-confidence, their overall continuity as they're progressing into their upperclassmen years of high school. It has a lot of other impacts. There's also the added concern where I do think about sometimes when students are doing a ton of APs, for example, and their grades dip, that student's going to be on our campus choosing coursework independently. We want them to be successful, to balance out their schedule in a way that will allow them to do the things that they want to do, be able to graduate in 4 years and do that well. And so, yes, we'll look at the APs, we'll look at the honors, but then looking at the entire transcript will help us understand maybe why they chose certain APs and honors versus others. It doesn't necessarily disqualify a student from admission to a school. That exclusively won't be a disqualifier. Does that help a bit? Okay. Other questions? No? Is anybody else in shock that it's November? We were looking at deadlines. November 1st was our early decision deadline, so I'm standing here speaking with all of you. I'm so happy to do that, but also having minor palpitations because application review for us starts basically now. So thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope my contribution, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. The question is about test optional. Do most schools, are most schools going back? It's been a mixed bag. I feel like some of the big name schools that I shall not mention, many of you know, have gone back to requiring testing, and in some ways that has actually had a little bit of a cascade effect for other schools. I was just chatting this morning with actually an officer from CUNY. They're still test optional until 2027, and then they're going to reassess. So I keep hearing that also from different universities and university systems. We're going to reassess in a couple of years because they're trying to also understand how the students who came in test optionally are performing on the ground on their campus. Sometimes that also involves conversations with faculty who maybe are a little skittish about students who maybe are coming without testing, or vice versa. Like they want to open up to students who would be successful, but testing maybe has been a hurdle for them to be able to come in. So it's going to continue changing for sure, which is, I think, important why students should definitely sit for the SAT and or the ACT, whichever exam they feel is a better fit. Yeah. And then some schools will say testing preferred. What do you think that means? Take the test, right? Whenever I'm panels and sometimes I'll hear colleagues say, well, you know, testing is preferred. Like, just tell them that they should take the test and they should submit the scores. So the other thing that happens with testing is they might be test optional, but that might be program specific. So for example, and this is not true for Rochester, but we're test optional except for engineering. Or we're test optional, but if you want to be considered for scholarships, you need to submit testing. And so sometimes those little nuances, again, students, I'm sorry, this falls on the shoulders of the student, again, to do research to kind of double check where these are. But this is where you can really, really lean on your counselors because they know what's happening and they'll be your shorthand in navigating the landscape of these continuously changing requirements by schools, because they're working with students through the college application process all the time. The same thing is also true with us. If we have questions about anything for a student or any application that we've gotten from Tuckahoe, who do you think we call? The counselors, absolutely, the counselors. Thank you. Because they by far they're not just advocating for students, but they're also helping us better understand their lived experience. So sorry to take that to the next level, but so yeah. We mean like averages for the schools are still publishing their middle 50%. So usually you can find those on the institutional websites, or again, your school probably has a lot of that information just based on historical. Yeah. Sorry. Do you have other things to share that? And then have we seen significant changes? Not necessarily. The change that is happening now with ACT is that ACT has a science optional portion. We don't really know yet what's going to happen with that because it's the first year that it's really being offered. So we don't know if that's going to in any way mean that students that don't do the science portion are not faring as well. But again, we're leaning more heavily on the academic performance in high school because I feel like that's a much better indicator of their talent and their foundation for any program that they pursue. So those changes are going to keep coming from ACT and SAT and the College Board. We're just, as we get these changes, we're waiting to see how the class, like this particular applicant pool, how they do, and if it seems like something of a trend that we need to be aware of. But for example, with the ACT science portion right now, it's not something that the university is particularly concerned about because there's so many other things worry about in the application process. But it's a conversation to have with individual schools too. But yeah, the middle 50% should be published, and the school will be able to help with getting that, for sure. Right, yes, excellent.
I just have a question regarding APs that maybe you can both address. Regarding the AP exam, so like from like while they're in high school, let's say a ninth grader takes the AP exam class, do you submit the score only if you want college credit? Like let's say a ninth grader takes it and doesn't do so well, do they have to submit that score if they get like a 2 on it? And also from a high school perspective, then Regents is 10th and 10th grade, if they take the AP exam, is that also factored into their academics?
Yeah, sure. The question was, a Regents exam is 10% of the final grade. If you take an AP exam, is that factored into your GPA or your final grade? Yes, the answer is yes. And I don't want to steal your answer. If a ninth grader takes an AP and they score a 2, was the question, do they have to submit that score? You don't have to submit that score to a college or university, whether you're in ninth grade or 12th grade. And it depends on each individual university if they're going to accept a 4 or 5, or some accept a 3 for credit. But you don't have to submit that score. And many students do not submit their scores of their AP exams.
So if a student doesn't submit their AP score, does it mean anything if they've taken the AP class? We don't necessarily infer that they didn't do well on the test. Sometimes students just don't submit their scores because they really just want SAT or ACT, or they want to be test optional, period. And so when a student goes test optional, we really focus on everything else in their application to try to honor their request. I think with AP, it's a little more nuanced because most of the time it's being submitted for credit. So yeah, it's not something, and then a lot of schools now are allowing students to self-report. So whatever they want to report on their application, if they feel comfortable, because they feel like it sheds light on who they are or their academic prowess, they can do it. But yeah, we won't necessarily, so many students just don't submit it, but we see the date of when they took the exam, because maybe they posted it. So, yeah.
Great question. Does it make a difference if you take the SAT and or the PSAT, and how is it weighted? Is that what I heard you say? Okay, great question. The student's job, if they want to, is they're going to be the ones who submit SAT scores or ACT scores to the college or university. The counseling department doesn't submit SAT or ACT scores. It's the student or family's job or obligation. So many students choose not to submit SAT or ACT scores, and that's a family decision. And then there's some students who choose to submit their SAT or ACT scores, and they do that through collegeboard.org, right? And there's a fee that comes with that as well. Students do not submit PSAT scores to colleges or universities. It's a practice test. But that's a wonderful question from an underclassman who really understands what's going on here. Are there any other questions, comments? Students, anybody? Oh, so Rochester, good for science.
Rochester's amazing for science. Absolutely. We can chat at the end if you want. Rochester is actually amazing for STEM, any area connected to STEM. A lot of people look at the university for pre-med, engineering, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're a research university, so absolutely. Biology, yeah, and you think you want to go to vet school? You want to become a veterinarian? Oh, fantastic. Do you love math too? Okay. Not your favorite. Okay. Well, we can talk that through. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Biology and foundation coursework to go on to vet school. We don't have our own vet school, but we'll help you get there for sure. Great questions. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for being here at Tuckahoe and answering all the questions. That was awesome. In your folder is a copy of the PowerPoint, also our school profile, which gets sent to every university that our college that our students apply to. And there's also a feedback form with a QR code. And you can grab a folder outside if you want to bring it to a neighbor or a friend as well. And this presentation has been taped, and it'll be sent to all 8th and 9th grade parents in a few days. So we thank you very much for coming here tonight. Remember, November 17th is the first day for 9th grade families to come into Tuckahoe for individualized meetings with us. So please sign up. All right, everybody, have a good night.